What's up, everybody? Welcome to the When in Seoul podcast. Danny Cho and Bobby Choi is in the house.
What's up, What's up, everybody?
I don't know if you can tell audio-wise, but my upper lip is swollen. I have the Angelina Jolie's.
Yeah. Looks your lips look very irresistible.
Don't ever look into my eyes and say that ever again. Yeah, I think I'm allergic to raw chestnuts, apparently. So,
yeah, you gotta get that looked at.
Yeah.
It looks pretty ridiculous.
Well, here's going to be an interesting segue. Given that I have the best lips of all time, we're going to talk. This segment is more about the best of Seoul, in our opinion. Mm-hmm. We're going to do segments about the best of Seoul and also the worst of Seoul. But today we want to do some things that we feel are the best.
Like things we like about Seoul better than anywhere else.
Yes.
Or what we're used to.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. The first thing for me, I'm not afraid at night.
Safety.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not afraid, period, in Korea. That's actually one of the biggest reasons why I moved to Korea, because I felt safe here.
Yeah, like you ain't gonna get mugged, you ain't gonna get shot. It's weird. I mean, when I first got here, it was so difficult. Not even difficult, but it was hard for me to fathom that I could walk drunk back home at 3 a.m.
and have no problems,
and nobody's gonna mess with me, right?
Yeah,
because in LA, if the sun's down and you walking out and like you walking in through a dark alley, you're gonna get mugged.
Basically, it's Gotham City, you know.
But we ain't got no Batman. There are Batman, but that's the gang names, you know, like Sleepy, Droopy, Batman. You know what I mean?
It was the same for me though. Growing up in New York City, I've been mugged multiple times.
Really?
Yeah, and I've seen. I've had a knife pulled out on me. I've had people harass me. I've been jumped before.
Like on the street, on the subway?
Yeah, on the street. Mostly at night, but even during the day. I grew up in Manhattan, not a lot of kids.
Right.
Right? And so I always felt unsafe. Whenever I went outside, it was always like I had to be aware of my surroundings.
Yeah, you have to just be like, all right, is somebody following you? I don't have that fear. It's weird, you know, like growing up, like I think I told you this before, but like at 13, like there was a drive-by, I saw my best friend get shot, you know what I mean? And so for me, I can walk, every time I walk out, there's like I call it the spidey senses, where, you know, you make sure that...
Wait, your best friend got shot?
Yeah, me and him were walking toward his house, like in the evening time, and a car pulled, you know, drive-by'd. It
was like a gang drive-by.
Yeah, and then they shot at us. And
were they like getting revenge for something, or they were just?
I believe
initiating?
it was an initiation type of act, and so they shot at us. We're walking down the street. We're like 13, and
did your friend survive? What happened?
He died.
Oh my gosh!
Unfortunately, he died in my arms, and there was not a scratch on me.
Danny, that's traumatic.
Yeah.
That must have been traumatic.
Yeah. So, like, to me, all my life, like, if I'm walking down the street, like, I'm making sure, like, all right, that dude looks suspicious.
Yeah.
That dude might rob me. And for the most part, I was right. Like, when I was in Buffalo for some gigs and I was at a bus station, I was like, oh, those 3 dudes over there are going to rob somebody. And they try to rob me.
Okay.
But it didn't happen because it was... you know, during the daytime. Usually crimes happen at night. I mean, you tell me that you got mugged during the daytime. Yeah. But for me, I'm like, my spidey senses are a little bit off during the day because I'm like, all right, nobody's gonna jack me in the middle of the street when the sun's out and there's people outside. Oh, depending on the area, right?
Yeah. Well, New York's a little bit different. New York, I've been mugged at night on the subway. And then I've been, mugged during the day with people around. You know, people don't want to help.
Right.
It's weird. Like, they tell you in school in New York, if you're ever being harassed or mugged, they say to yell fire. because people are willing to help you in
Right.
that situation.
Right.
They want to be the hero. But if there's like a situation you're being mugged or there's an aggressor involved, everyone just shies away from that.
So when you're being mugged, did you yell fire?
No.
You know,
I'm just
give me
like-
your money, fire!
Well, one time I got mugged, right? There was this guy. I mean, he wasn't much bigger than me. Like, he wasn't like a menacing looking dude. He wasn't like scary looking. He was actually really nice at first and was walking with me. And he was just, I thought he was crazy.
Right.
And then it turned out he was just kind of buttering me up. And then finally he told me to give me whatever's in my pockets.
Right.
And I was just like, I don't have much on me. And then he started to get really aggressive. And he came up to me. He said, if you don't shut up and just give me the money, I'm going to break your face in. He said those words. And I was headed to church. I was going to church camp. And I remember I had an extra $20 in my pocket because you needed $20 for the bus. I don't know. They told all the kids,
Right.
you need $20. And so I had $27 in my pocket. I gave him the 27, and he gave me $2 back for the train. So
Oh, okay.
He was kind of like a nice mugger, I guess. But when I moved to Seoul, like, I had no doubt that I would never be in that situation again. You know, I mean, New York is a lot safer now, but I don't like going back because it reminds me, like, certain areas, I'll go by it, and it's just I have bad memories.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I think one of the reasons for the safety, number one, is that there are no guns in this country.
Right.
No guns.
That's a big deal.
I mean, we're from America, where you know what I mean. Like the Second Amendment is something that is highly debated all over the place. But here, ain't no guns. So,
but even illegally, I mean, you had someone shoot at you when you were 13.
Right.
The first gun I actually saw in person was in 6th grade, I think. I was at school, and this kid, he thought it was really hard, like kind of a wannabe gangster type of kid. He opened his backpack and he showed me his gun. He brought his brother's gun, you know. I thought that was weird, you know. I'm this kid in elementary school or junior high. I'm just like, oh, this is, I guess this is normal.
But you know what the ironic thing about having no guns in Korea compared to a lot of guns in the U.S. is that the majority of adult males in Korea are actually trained to shoot a gun because they have to serve the mandatory military sentence, right? As opposed to people back home where, you know, there's some gang. They don't have like gang like training camps, right? Where it'd be like, yo, this is how you shoot a gun, bro. Like, you know, you to the cup and the saucer technique with the, you know what I mean? They don't do any of that. It's just they shoot like movie style. So one hand like cocked sideways and stuff like that.
I mean, that's the irony, you know. They teach you out of necessity. Like if you go to war, you need to be prepared. I mean, they do in the U.S. as well, but if you go to the army. But here it's mandatory.
I mean, well, yo, you know the footage of, you know, the LA riots in 1992? Military folks saw the footage of like the Korean ajashis like defending their stores and stuff. And you know what the military people said? It was like, wow, they have really good technique. Like they have really good shooting.
Really?
Yeah, they're like, oh, that's good technique. And I was like, oh yeah, they all went to the army. You know what I mean?
Wow,
and so that was always interesting. The other thing about Korea that I feel, I don't know if it's a safe thing, but I'm not afraid of the cops.
That's for sure, yeah.
But I don't know if that helps with the safety issue, but I just think, like, I just don't...
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like we're not afraid of the cops because there's not as much crime here.
Right.
Where we feel the need for them. In the States, I always feel fear of cops because I feel like they abuse power, first of all. Yeah, I even have friends that are cops. And I don't like them. No, I like them. But I see them abuse their power.
Right.
And so that kind of makes me feel, well, if they're doing that, all cops are doing that.
Right.
And so that's not fair. That's not good. I feel like that's not really happening in Korea.
I get shocked, man. I see people curse out the cops in Korea. Like, I'm like, yo, man, like, in LA, you did
I've seen that happen. I've seen an ajashi.
Yeah, you get worked in LA because in LA or in the States, there is a charge that a cop can give you that will just overthrow anything else, right? Which is like disturbing the peace or, you know what I mean, obstruction of justice, or there's these charges where like, oh, the cop screwed up or whatever, and then now all of a sudden we know the law, like that's not cool, that's not fair. Right. You're obstructing justice, and they can get that baton and beat you down. I mean, I've been cuffed on a before, and I was like, yo, I'm Asian in East LA, like clearly everyone here knows me, so I wouldn't have done. I mean, they were accusing me of like they were looking for somebody, and I was like, did the description come out as an Asian dude in East LA, bro? You know, and then they didn't like my attitude.
Yeah,
fucking put my face to the hood.
Right, that's an abuse of power.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen an ajashi yell at a cop one time for giving him a parking ticket. He was writing up a parking ticket, but this ajashi was straight up drunk. It was really late at night.
Right.
And he was yelling at the cop. And then finally the cop just gave up. And it was like, okay, just get a teddy and get out of here.
Wow.
kind of thing. And I was just shocked. Because if something like that happened in the States, I feel like it would have got aggressive. They would have
cuffed him.
They would have thrown him to the ground.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something like that sounds funny, but it also makes me feel safe. Like, that cops, they're not like out to abuse their power.
I mean, when you and our buddy Peter back home, I remember you had a story about crossing a street in K-Town.
We were going home. We were leaving a friend's house pretty late. Like, it was like 3 a.m. on a weekday. We were in K-Town, crossing a street because there were no cars around. So we jaywalked. And at the cross light, we saw the cop, you know? But we figured, there's no cars around. We crossed the street. All of a sudden, this cop car comes in like rushing, speeding to us, drives onto the curb, jumps out of the car, and gives us a ticket for $175 each. And I was telling the guy, I said, we're just trying to get home because, I even told him, I said, a week ago, I had a gun pulled out on me, which was true, like a block away. And I said, I just want to get to my car and get home. I don't feel safe here. There were no cars around. I don't understand why you're giving me this ticket. And he took it as I was giving him attitude.
Oh, wow.
And so he said, you could have killed someone or you could have died. And I was like, are you serious? There's no cars around.
Yeah. And you got a 175 ticket. I know Pete framed it, or did you frame it?
I framed both of them.
Oh,
and I gave it to him. This is such a ridiculous ticket. I mean, we had a friend in the LAPD. I had a friend in the LAPD. And I told him about it. I said, hey, so he took a picture of the ticket and he went and talked to that cop. And then he said, hey, can you let him off the hook this one time? Because they can do that, His partner gave Peter the ticket. That guy said, fine, I'll give him a break. The guy that gave me the ticket was like, no, I'm not giving him a break. He needs to reach his quota. So in the States, they have a quota as well. I feel like they don't have that here where they have to like Korean cops have to write up at least like 50 tickets a month.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but there, that's just, it makes me feel sick to my stomach.
I mean, just the fact that there is such a thing as a quota, you know what I mean?
Because they have to make money for the department or whatnot. And so it's just, it just makes me feel really sick. And I remember I went to Peter and I said, listen, so my friend got you off the ticket, but didn't for me. Can we just pay half of one ticket together? Yeah. And he said no. I was so mad. I'm mad at him to this day, actually. Those are one of those things I'm just like, Peter, man, that's really selfish. Like, I got you off this ticket and you couldn't even like pay for half my ticket.
Yeah, that's I'm
calling
Pete.
You out right now, Peter.
Yeah, Peter, we need to talk. The other thing about the safety issue is there's virtually no theft here in Korea. You know what I mean? Like I've seen people even at the airport, right, where you have a lot of stuff that might be valuable. They will put their bags, like, you know, in the waiting the gates.
Yeah.
And they'll just put their bag or their cell phone on a chair and then just go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
To me, that's unfathomable.
I see that every week when I go to a cafe. Yeah. I've done it myself. Like I put my phone at the table just to hold the table. Right. And then I'll go downstairs to order my coffee.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back. It's always there.
That is so crazy.
It's a crazy concept. Yeah.
I mean, you know, this past weekend we were in Busan, and then at the mall at Gimpo, we went to go eat at a restaurant, right? And then so I had, you know, my carry-on luggage, and they were like, "Hey, can you just leave it in the front?" And it wasn't even like they had a separate like closet to put the luggage in. Yeah. It was just right there in the front. And, you know, our buddy Charles was like, yo,
he was visiting.
Yeah, are you just going to just leave it there? And I was like, it's Korea, man. They don't steal anything.
Yeah, I was like, Charles, it's fine. It's going to be there. It's fine.
And he's like, I don't know, man. And then after a meal, we're eating for like an hour. We get out and it's still there, you know, ta-da. Yeah. I mean, the handle was still up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It wasn't even like moved or anything.
In the States, that would never fly.
Heck no.
Like, I remember even having your stuff close to you is not safe.
Right.
I remember I was at a fast food joint in, I think, like Madison Square Garden one time. And I had my backpack on the back of my chair. Somebody took it. It was like basically on me. It was like right there. And they were able to swipe it off of me.
Wow.
And I didn't even notice. These people are just like ghosts. Yeah. And then I told a cop, I ran outside looking for it. And the cop was like, hey, just go to the closest trash can. Like 9 times out of 10, it's in there. Yeah. So I went to the trash can on the corner and it was in there. But my Game Boy was gone. This was like in the 90s. Yeah. Early 90s, late 80s or something.
My abacus was gone. My click-clack was gone.
But my science textbook was still in there. I was like,
of course.
I remember my mom was online at Macy's. She was trying to pay for something and her wallet was gone. She was thinking, like, where's the last place my wallet was? And then finally the cashier was like, can I see your bag? Shows in the back, there's like a slit. Somebody used a knife to cut and just put their hand in and pull out the wallet. Wow. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You know, like in Korea, like the subway system, right? Where during rush hour it gets super packed. Yeah. You know, like my wallet is in my back pocket. Yeah. So a part of me is always like, this is a pickpocket's dream to be here because, you know, you can't, you're all up on each other pretty much. You know what I mean? You guys are all pretty much breathing on each other's necks during rush hour. It's a perfect time to just steal stuff, right? But I don't feel that my spidey senses, as I said earlier, aren't raised here, which I feel kind of is a great thing here, but also kind of bad because when I go back home, I'm going to feel like, I was in Korea for too long and I'm going to get jacked. You know what I mean?
Right. That's like, I always forget things like that. Like when I go home, at least one time I forget to tip. Right. Stuff like that. Like I've seen a guy sleeping on the street. He took out his wallet, his phone, and put it like above his head because he didn't want it in his pocket. Because it was like
uncomfortable. Yeah. And
I was just like looking at it like anyone could just take that away. You know, if this was the States, that would be gone. Yes. But in Korea, it makes sense to me that it would be there. Like, he would feel safe enough to leave it out. For myself, I probably couldn't do that because I'm from New York. Right. And I'll never 100% trust the world. So I'm always thinking, that 1%, someone that's visiting Korea from New York is going to, like, walk by me.
I mean, you know, remember there's a dude from Brooklyn? Or was it the Bronx we met in Itaewon when we almost got into a fight? Yeah. But also, like, back home, I've gotten, like, my car broken into a few times, you know? And the interesting thing was nothing was stolen. Yeah. They just broke into it because I'm like, my car was a mess, right? So what they did was they tried to open the trunk, and it was a lot of junk in the trunk. And so they moved all the junk from the trunk to my back seat. And then they were trying to see if they could steal anything. And they didn't steal anything. They didn't even steal my classic hip hop CD, the albums, you know what I mean? Like I had it and I was like, yo, man, you're not going to steal Doggy Style from Snoop Dogg or The Chronic by Dr. Dre. And I realized these kids, they must be young because they don't appreciate true hip hop. Yeah, but they didn't steal anything. They just gave me an errand to clean my car, pretty much.
That's so funny.
It pissed me off, man.
My roommate also got his car window smashed in, and nothing was taken, but there was 2 brand new sunglasses in the passenger seat. So they left something.
They felt bad. They were like, hey, man, you poor, here's some sunglasses.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've never really heard of that happening here. I've had my car broken into in the States. I had my guitar stolen out of the car, laptop. And so, you know, in the States, you're more mindful about that.
Right.
You know, like you won't leave your backpack in there. You carry everything with you into the restaurant. But here, like whenever I'm in a friend's car and we do that, even at the valet, I don't want to leave my stuff in there, but they're always like, it's fine, you know, just relax.
Yeah. They put, I mean, and we have friends that are like, you know, like directors or photographers. So they have like expensive equipment and it's just chilling there. They don't even hide it in the trunk. You know what I mean?
I always forget I know you worked out at cafes a lot in the States, but did you go to the bathroom with all your stuff too?
No.
What would you do with?
No, well, I would always take my phone, but I left my laptop there.
Yeah.
Because in the cafes, I wouldn't use the bathroom for a long time. It was only for number 1. It was for peeing. I wouldn't do number 2 there because that'll take some time. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, I have this like, they won't steal anything in like 5 minutes, right? But if you're there for 15, 20, then that might be a problem.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it was a cafe that I knew, where the owners knew me, so you know, I think they would have kept an eye out for me. And I also think the reason why it's the theft and the crime is not prevalent here in Seoul as much as it is back home is because of the enormous amount of CCTVs.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like not every intersection, but you know, it's all over the place.
Relatively, you know, Korea is smaller than the U.S. So,
right.
Fitting the whole city of Seoul with CCTV, it doesn't seem as daunting as it would in the U.S., I guess.
Right.
But I wish they got on that, you know, like New York. New York needs to feel safer, I think. I don't think it's like a cool character trait to have. Like, come to New York and get mugged. Right. You know, maybe it's safer now, but it's not as safe as it is here. Like, I'll go down to the subway. Subway is 24 hours in New York, which is a nice thing, but it's also like, you don't want to be stuck in the subway, like, after 9 o'clock. Like, I always feel unsafe. I'm always looking behind my, you know, never look at people in the eye in New York. That's a good tip. In Korea, like, that's just weird.
Right,
just keep yourself. But I see people staring all the time, and I never get into fights. So,
I mean, speaking of subways, another great thing about Seoul for me is the public transportation.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely the best. I mean, coming from New York, having a great subway system, having lots of buses and taxis, and LA has the subway system as well.
It doesn't run everywhere. I mean, it's there. I know that they're trying to build more routes and things like that.
I know my mom uses it.
Yeah.
I mean, public transportation in Seoul, just overall, is better. It's really well done here.
Right.
And so
it's clean.
Very clean.
Yeah.
People say that Japan is the cleanest. But I feel like it's just as clean, you know.
Because I've been on a subway in New York, and I'm like, oh man, This is some grime. It's don't smell good.
Every time I go back, I'm hoping that the subway is gonna be cleaner and they like cleaned it up or something. But I always see rats in there.
Right.
It just looks grimy and dirty, you know, the walls and like the tiles and you know, they don't have that. What I like about Seoul's subway system is they have those dividers between the train and the platform.
Yeah.
It makes you feel safer too.
Oh yeah, because you won't fall in. I mean, there were stories about an Asian dude getting kicked or pushed into the tracks when the subway was coming in New York. You know what I mean? And so, that kind of stuff that's awesome.
But I've heard that over the years, all the time, people getting pushed into the tracks, and so that kind of thing just makes you feel queasy, you know, and unsafe.
But the one thing about the subway system in Korea that I'm not a fan of, and it's just me personally, is that I am claustrophobic.
Yeah,
and I'm also xenophobic. And so I remember the first time...
What's xenophobic again?
Fear of strangers.
Okay.
And so you and I went on the subway to go to Gangnam for something, like years ago when I came to visit. Mm-hmm. And I was freaking out, man, because it was packed. And then I remember you asking me, "Hey, Danny, you okay?" And I'm like, "No, man, I'm freaking out, dude." And he's like, "Oh." And then you, instead of like trying to help me, you just recorded me freaking out, like in the like having like a semi-anxiety attack.
I mean, there's nowhere we could go. So
I know.
I figured make the best of the situation.
By recording me freaking out. Yeah, I was like, I hate you, man. I hate you. No wonder Pete didn't pay for his half the ticket.
But really, I mean, that's not Seoul's fault because anywhere you go, there's rush hour, and then they have a lot. It's like really crowded during rush hour in New York as well.
Even in the but they don't they don't cram you in.
It's a little different. Like you don't get that cramming thing where people just like start pushing in. Mm-hmm. You know, you see those videos in Tokyo. Yeah. Of people, they have people working to push people in. Yeah. I mean, they don't have that in Seoul.
Right. Thank God.
But people do have that kind of aggressiveness to get on a train.
And it's usually like a short, small ajumma with that got, I don't know, she has like, them ajummas got some elbow strength. Like they got some, like they can play football, man. They can move a line. Because I remember like I was getting pushed into a subway and I looked back and she was like, she had to be like shorter than 5 foot tall. And she was pushing 4 or 5 people into the train by herself. And I was like, wow, that's some awesome stuff. So yeah, the subway is one, but I also like the buses here.
The buses I prefer over the subway now. When I first got here, I was afraid of the buses because I always felt I didn't know where to really get off. But now I prefer the buses because, you know, getting down to the subway is an ordeal. Just going down and up and transferring includes going down and up again, like stuff like that. Is I feel like the bus it's a faster way, and especially when there's bus lanes. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're always moving. So.
But unless there's like traffic, then I have a little problem with buses. But for the most part, I just like getting on buses because I want to see the city. I mean, I've been here for, you know, less than a year now, and I was like, wow, I still don't know Seoul. Matter of fact, I don't even really know the Shincheon where I live. Like, I walk around it a lot, but like I was like, oh wow, I never noticed that, you know, certain things exist here. So I feel like I get to kind of see that as opposed to in a subway where you just look at the top of people's heads because they're all on their phones. You know what I mean? So it's kind of weird, you know. The subway system, the bus system.
Yeah, and having the apps for the subway and the bus are great. Right. Because they're so on point, on time. They tell you to the minute. They tell you what car to get on.
To transfer fast.
To transfer faster. Yeah. They tell you the distance, how long it's going to take you to get from here to there. So I think it's just really well organized. The buses, the one thing I don't like about the buses is sometimes the drivers, I guess it depends on the driver because the driver will brake really hard.
Oh yeah.
And just like I'm a New Yorker, so I know about like being stable and keeping your balance.
Right.
But these Korean bus drivers, sometimes I just can't do it. It's like so hard.
I've seen a woman standing up on a bus, did not hold on to the handle, and she's applying makeup.
That's a pro, right?
And
there.
I went, whoa. I mean, I get it on the subway, but on the bus, that's the black belt of Korean citizenship, I think. You know what I mean? That's crazy. The other thing, taxis, you know?
Yeah.
So many taxis, which is great. In LA, there aren't any taxis, right? So you have to either call like Uber or Lyft.
Yeah, it's kind of Uber versus... Now Uber and Lyft is really popular amongst young people, at least,
right.
And young professionals, older professionals, I guess. But in Korea, they still have one foot in the old, one foot in the new.
Right.
Now all the cab drivers have Kakao Taxi,
Right.
which is basically Uber.
Right.
But I like it better because you have the option of not using a credit card.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which might be, I mean, Uber and Lyft is kind of cool because you can, have a fixed price and that's it, and then you can decide to tip later through the app. I kind of like that convenience. But you can also do that on the Kakao Taxi where you can just link your credit card. The fixed price thing, they give you a estimated price through like Kakao Map.
Right.
If you put in your destination and you put your starting point, it gives you an estimated price what a taxi is going to cost. And it's pretty on point. So,
I mean, the other thing is that like there isn't any surge pricing. You know what I mean? Like with Uber and Lyft, you're like, what?
Oh, right. Surge pricing.
Like, it's like, remember when we were at South by Southwest together? It was like 3 times the average.
Yeah, we went like 7 blocks.
Yeah. I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So there isn't any surge pricing for Kakao Maps or whatever. So
Well,
that's awesome.
The one thing that Korea does do is after a certain hour, it's a little more expensive.
Right.
But it's not going to break the bank. The taxis here are cheaper in general, and everyone always mentions how cheap it is when they're visiting.
I mean, here's a pro tip that a Korean taxi driver told me. When you are getting a place when you using Kakao Maps, type the destination in Korean because I don't want to say that all Korean cab drivers are racist or hesitant to deal with foreigners, but they prefer Korean customers because communication problems and things of that nature, right? So in order to trick the Korean cab driver to thinking that you are Korean, type your destination on Kakao Maps or Kakao Taxi in Korean, and that way they will be more readily available to you as opposed to being like, because I live near the Hyundai department store in Sinchon, and for the longest time I was typing it in English.
Okay.
Hyundai department store Sinchon, right? And then I got in, and the guy goes, "Hey," because I was like, "Yo, man, why is it so hard to get a cab? It's a decent distance.
Yeah.
So cab drivers will make decent money." And he goes, "It's because you wrote it in English." And I was like, "What?" And
That's a great tip, actually.
So yeah, if you can type Korean and you're in Korea, type your destination in Korean. They will get to you faster. So another great thing about Korea for me, the best in my opinion, is the nightlife.
Oh, well, seriously, we're a full circle now, right? We were talking about feeling safe at night.
Yeah.
So it's even double whammy.
Double whammy. Double whammy. Yeah, no, I mean, because, first of all, I don't believe that there is an actual alcohol cutoff time, right? Like in LA, it used to be 2. I think they changed a lot of 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think.
didn't hear about this.
I think, I know in New York it was around 4.
New York?
Yeah.
No, New York just doesn't stop.
Oh, really?
In terms of cutting off alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's like
Yeah, it's 24 hours there. You can buy it.
that
As
is-
far as I know, like that's always been the case for me.
I mean, but like,
It
well,
wouldn't be terrible. I think people should start drinking, you know. Like once it hits 7 a.m., maybe you shouldn't be, you know.
I have come out of venues at 7 a.m., 10 a.m.
I've done that with you.
Yeah. And you know what? You know, like the sound of birds and the sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, it was told that the sound of birds and sunrise was like a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Not in
that situation.
Yeah, not in that situation. You're like, oh my God, that's terrible.
That happened to me last week where I saw, you know, a trace of the sun coming up when I got home really late last week. And it just makes you feel, ugh.
Yeah.
You know, get your life together, Bobby.
Yeah.
Kind of like...
But we had a good time, right? It was a nightlife, you know? We hung out, we drank, we went to different places.
Especially if you're visiting here, this is a good place. If you're a night person and like to go out late at night, there's no cutoff time for booze. Mm-hmm. There's always something going on. There's something like a Pojangmatcha that's open, that's going to have people there. There's like these... you can go to a 90s K-pop club any day of the week in Gangnam-yak, and it's going to be packed with people, and you can dance to old music.
and then another thing is there is no open container law in Korea, so you can technically have like beer in your hand and walk down the street.
Yeah, which I did when I first got here because I thought it was such a cool concept, and then people would look at you weird. Because Koreans don't really do that. They don't like grab a beer at the convenience store and, you know, just walk around shopping with it.
Right.
But the one cool thing is if you're like at the hangang, you know, you could have a beer and drinking it outside. You know, if you're at the beach, you could have a beer, you know, something like that.
At the park, you know.
Yeah.
But
which is nice.
But you don't see that in the States, right? And I agree with you. Like, I don't like seeing people like. And I see a lot of foreigners in Korea do this, where they buy a bottle of soju and they have it in their hand and they're just swinging it as they go down the street.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, man.
The soju thing.
Yeah. You know, that it's
not a good look.
Not a good look.
They're trying
guys.
to get drunk fast. I understand.
Right.
It only costs you $2.
Right.
And you're getting drunk off of $2. That's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
But come on, get a paper bag or something.
Yeah, let's just keep it classy. You know what I mean? Just keep it classy, right? And also, like, if you don't mind, you know, the Korean booze, soju and makgeolli is so affordable. You know, like,
oh yeah,
you know, like in New York, what's a bottle of soju cost?
Bottle of soju in New York, the last I was there was about $20.
Ooh,
yeah.
Because like back in LA, it was about 10 to 12.
Yeah, last time I was in LA, I had it was $12.
Yeah.
For soju.
Yeah.
Here
it's 4 at a Pojangmatcha around
now. It's going up.
Yeah.
Right. So when I first got here, it was $3 at most, and now everywhere you go, some places still do it for $3.
Right.
But the convenience store, it's still like $1.50.
Yeah.
$2. Yeah, it's just much more cheaper to get drunk here.
Yeah, just yeah. So I mean, if like if you're not like but I only drink hibiki that they don't even make it anymore, right? Or like or I only drink like high end stuff. If you aren't that kind of douche, then man, stick to like the soju, stick to the makgeolli, and you'll be fine. Matter of fact, and I think we talked about this in an earlier episode about. Koreans were ranked number 2 in the world in terms of per capita
alcohol consumption.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now they they were number 1
in soju consumption.
Yes.
Oh, well, like in terms of a
volume,
spirit sold.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
But Russians they stick to the vodka, which is a lot stronger. You know what I mean? Soju.
And they're full bottles.
Yeah.
They're more expensive.
Right. Speaking of which, we were talking about it, how a bottle of soju is about 7 shots,
Something like that.
Which is amazing because if you're drinking with somebody like a friend,
Yeah.
It's an odd number, so you have to buy another one.
Well, the way Koreans describe it is that they did that on purpose, so you have to buy another one, so you can. It's always an odd number,
Right?
Which is ingenious.
Yeah, because
really.
I'm going insane because when I buy a loaf of bread at a Paris baguette,
Yeah.
it's an odd number.
No way.
Yeah, so if I'm trying to make a sandwich all the time,
Just cut that last piece in half, though, and then make
and make a half a mini sandwich, like a slider, you know
Come
what I
on,
mean?
man. That's what civilized people would do.
No, I would go get another. I'm like, oh,
That's a bit much.
I was like, you got me again, Paris baguette. But speaking of the booze, because we drink so much, Korea has, and I don't know any country that has this, has crazy different hangover cures.
Oh, yeah. Korea's hangover game is on point.
Yeah.
They have these hangover remedies that work, that you take before, that you take after. I mean, they have the traditional ways of just having kukbap and soup or like
해장국,
right?
Hangover soup.
They have these drinks called condition,
Yeah.
basically, or the one that I swear by and I'll only buy is the Dawn 808.
Yeah.
The Yeomyeong.
Yeah.
Right? Something like that. It's basically the can. If you go in a convenience store, it's this tiny can in the hangover drink section. That they actually have a hangover drink section, right? Where it's this tiny can with this old ajashi on it.
Yeah.
He's like the 사장님 or I don't know, like the older.
He's probably the owner, right?
Or something like that. But that thing it's expensive. It's more expensive than like the Condition and like those other brands. It's like $5 for that can.
Right.
But that can will save you the next day, and I swear by it. You can drink this before. If you know you're going to be drinking a lot that night, it's always a good idea to consume that before. But if you're halfway through or you're done with the night, it's good to down that after as well, or after, or in the morning when you wake up. So it's basically filled with vitamins. I think it tastes kind of like
the
hanyak.
Yeah, like the deer antler, like
right.
Chinese herbal medicine type of.
That like sweet kind of. It's a little bit sweet though, which I kind of like the taste. Lately, they made this super 808.
Yeah,
that's a black can.
Yeah,
that's $10.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't want it.
Yeah, I'm like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Kind of thing, you know.
Apparently, on the can, there's like some sort of like award. It says award winning.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, I don't know what award are they competing against Condition and all the other guys, or
I mean, like
I don't
they
know.
Just like the four of them get it. They're in a room, you know.
Let's see who it works. For 10 years in a row, we've beat everybody. They also have hangover ice cream.
Oh, right. The hangover ices, the ice cream, hangover gum, jellies.
I've tried the ice cream. Don't work.
It doesn't.
It didn't work for me. But to me, you introduced me to the Dawn 808.
Yeah.
Because in Korea, that's the one thing, and this might go into the worst of in another episode, but you do a lot of drinking here, like in Korea, and so I've gotten hungover one time so hardcore that the next day I woke up with a bruise on my chest, and it was the shape of the toilet bowl. I had a bruised necklace. You know what I mean? Because I was just on the bowl the whole night, just throwing up, feeling like crap the next day. But then, after that, you told me about the Dawn 808. So when I know that it's gonna be one of them nights, I throw one down. Yeah. And you'll get drunk, but
it doesn't prevent you from getting drunk, but it does help you feel better in the morning.
Yeah, I don't get crazy hangovers anymore when I do that.
But really the best way to fight a hangover for me lately has been when I get home, I down at least a liter of water. And usually the next day I feel not as bad as I think I'm going to feel. Water, is the natural, health saving liquid.
That was the worst way to describe water. No, you know what? My friend, he's a doctor, and so in the States they have this anti-hangover pill.
Yeah.
So,
right. They do that in the States.
So what he told me was it's essentially a salt pill.
Okay.
And the reason why it's a salt pill is because, like, if you don't have much salt in your body when you're drinking water, especially when you're boozed up, is that it'll just run right through you.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I see. Yeah.
So, like, instead of having a salt pill back home, it was like, yo, just like get a bag of chips, like a small bag of chips, and then just, down water, right? But here, when you're in Korea, usually you're eating anju.
Right.
And
you're eating food while you drink. Yeah, that's a big deal.
And for the most part, it's something salty and spicy and whatever, right? So that's why you don't really need a bag of chips when you get home. Just you have enough salt in your body. Now you just throw the water in.
So you put two and two together, Danny.
Yeah, I'm a genius.
Very wisdomous of you.
Wisdomous.
But here they have the pills too.
Right.
I've had the pills. They have these new things. They're packets, and they have multiple like balls in there, like tiny little. I want to say like 15, like little hanyak balls, and then you chew it. Oh no, you just like drink it down with water. They have those little gummies where you just chew the gummy like it's a candy.
Yeah.
But it's probably has something to do with salt or something like that.
All I know is so far I've tried a lot of them, and the Don 808 is my favorite.
Yeah.
And then coming in at close number 2 is the Haejanguk.
Oh, the Haejanguk is a must.
Like when you're feeling like crap the next day, and you just sit down and then you just sweat it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, any kind of kook, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a vegan now.
Yeah.
Right, so I can't eat haejanguk. But when I'm really hungover, I'll make myself some vegan kimchi jjigae or doenjang jjigae, and that does the trick too.
Right.
I mean, you just need something soupy. We do that in the States. Back in LA, we
It's pho. Yeah.
Right, pho seems to work.
It's good for you.
I don't understand when people were like, that wasn't funny, that's why I didn't laugh. But they... They say like they'll eat pizza or they'll eat something greasy.
Right.
That's never worked for me. And just the thought of it, I feel like soup is the way to go. Just seems more hearty and like more home remedy kind of thing.
Right. To me, the greasy thing works, but I'll eat it and then I have to go sleep some more. Ultimately, for me, a hangover is rest. That's what cures it, right? So
sure, yeah. And these days. When I get wasted, the next day, I basically lose a day. Like I can't be myself. It's kind of stinks. So, if you're getting older, bear in mind that drinking can you can lose time because of drinking.
Yeah, I mean, not only like, from the effects of the alcohol in terms of like, how they go like, smoking, you lose a cigarette, you lose like a minute of your life or whatever that statistic is, right? So does booze. It kills brain cells.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about just that. We're talking about you're going to lose at least a day or two because of you can't bounce back like you used to when you're in your 20s.
That's true. Yeah. But the good news is if you're in Seoul, this is the best place for hangovers and you're covered.
Yes.
So it's just, that's a good way, I think, to wrap this up. This week we talked about the best things in Seoul.
Yes.
So, which means we'll probably talk about some of the worst things
coming up soon.
So, if
you have any questions or comments, please email us at peninsulapod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Today